Here we go.
And then we'll see if we can go live on YouTube. No, that doesn't look like it's letting me, so that's fine. Okay, good. Well, here we are. Good morning. Welcome to the John Lavinia Success Mastermind General Session for Tuesday, April 26th. I am your host today, Stuart Wilde. I am a student of personal development and human potential and an entrepreneur, as most of us here are. And I'm honored and glad to be with you today, resuming every other Tuesday opposite my good friend Adrian Garner. We call it Team Tuesday. And I'm excited. I got a whole list of cool topics to share with you guys and provoke some thoughtful discussions about human potential, science and spirit, entrepreneurship, things like that. So without further ado, I was every week, kind of before these sessions, I kind of go through my list and go through my head of what kinds of things I want to talk about. And sometimes I have a set idea, and then other times, I don't figure it out until, midnight or 1 o'clock the morning before, kind of thing. And yesterday, during general session, Janet had mentioned something about being human or humanity. I can't remember what you were talking about, Janet, but it prompted me on a topic that I've been wanting to share with you guys for a while. So today's discussion is going to be about being human, our loss of connection to the natural world, and finding our way back, and what I'm calling the greatest excuse. And you'll see what I mean in a little while. So I'll share my screen. I started out yesterday kind of thinking, oh, I'll just kind of shoot off the hip and just do a little chat, and I'll make some notes for myself. And then the notes for myself turned into a presentation for you guys. So that's just kind of how it is. And let's see, I'll share my screen. I'll pull it up. And let me take a quick peek at everybody here just to see who's with. All right. Oh, good. Sorry, guys, I haven't hosted in a while, so I'm trying to remember how to use all this tech. And honestly, yeah, part of our gig today will be about tech. So here we go. So my title today is You're Only Human. And we've all said that, and we've all heard people say that, and maybe we just kind of let that slide off our tongues or slip through our ears. But last night on book study, we were talking about things that kind of make us cringe. And when I hear somebody say, oh, I'm only human, it kind of sets me off in the wrong direction. And so that's really, I must have been watching a television show or hearing somebody say something, oh, well, I'm only human, so what can you expect from me, right? And the reality is that because you're human, we should expect more from ourselves, right? So title today, You're Only Human, Divine Origins, Lost Connections, and the Grand Excuse. So of course, the first thing comes to my head is, well, okay, well, so what does it mean to be a human, right? And I think we should all kind of ponder that for a brief moment. What does it mean to you to be human? And of course, being a word guy, I'm all about etymology, right? So I started looking stuff up, right? And of course, we go to the Latin, humus, and of course, not that tasty little chickpea spread, but soil, right? Earth, ground, soil. Of course, in English, we say humus, right? But in Latin, it's humus, which comes from the Proto-Indo-European, or as they say, PIE. Have you guys heard of this? This is PIE is essentially the ancient predecessor to all the European languages: English, Spanish, French, German, Russian, even Hindi and Urdu all have their roots in Proto-Indo-European. It was spoken maybe 4,500 years BC, so like a good 6,000 to 7,000 years ago, right? So while a lot of people, a lot of the history that we get from that time tends to be more Fertile Crescent-y, if you know what I'm saying. That, you know, there were whole cultures in Europe as well. And so interesting pronunciation. So I've been teaching myself a little bit of this Proto-Indo-European. So the original word is Yom, and it meant the earth, the ground, the soil. And that literally went right into the Latin as humus. And then we have another word from the Proto-Indo-European, yomo, which means a being of the earth, right? Or person of the earth. And then that directly translated into the Latin prefix homo, yomo, homo, right? So that's where we get Homo sapiens, hominids, things like that. Hominids, of course, being the class of humans, right? That go from Homo erectus all the way to Homo sapiens sapiens, and maybe even Bigfoot. But we'll talk about cryptozoology another time. And so the Latin is humanus, which is really the word for human. And it's kind of a hybrid between humus and homo. And so human, humanus, a person of the earth, person of the ground, a person of the soil, right? And how cool, really, that the word human really means of the earth, right? I mean, to me, that just struck a deep chord for me. And then I started playing around, like, oh, well, what other words are related to this, right? And while we might think humor would be a good one, right? To have a good sense of humor is to be human, but that comes from a totally separate word. But one that does ring true is humilus, which is humility. And it literally translates to on the ground or of the ground, right? So being humble, showing humility is essentially being of the ground, right? And to me, that's a reminder to myself, but to all of us, right? To be human is to be humble. And what is to be humble, right? To, you know, put your ego aside and really have respect for all creatures, to honor our connection to the earth. So again, I thought that was pretty fascinating. I thought that would be nice to share with you guys. Then we got some cool biblical references. And in Hebrew, Adamah literally translates to the earth or the ground or the soil, same stuff. Now, while I was raised in the Judaic faith, I'm not necessarily a practicing Jew. You know, this past week was Passover. We didn't do a Passover Seder. Some of you guys may do that or have done that with friends and family. But one of the items on the Seder plate, if you know what the Seder is the ritual meal for Passover, and there's different items on the Seder plate: lamb shank bone, a piece of usually bitter herbs. There's an egg, right, to represent springtime. There's a whole grouping of items that you eat, and you say a blessing over each one. Well, one of the things that you say a blessing for on the Passover plate is the Adamah, the fruit of the earth. And so you take a vegetable and you say thanks for the gifts of the earth, and that's Adamah. And this is where Adam comes from, or Adam, right? And so Adam is the first man in the Bible, and that literally translates to the son of the earth, or the son of the ground. I thought that was pretty cool. So in Genesis 2:7, we have a reference to God the potter, and the word in Hebrew is yotzar, and there's several references in the Old Testament where God is referred to as the potter, the one who shapes and molds life. Really very interesting, right? And so this reference in Genesis 2:7 is when God essentially takes a pile of dust, forms it, and breathes life into it, and then that becomes Adam, right? So again, of the earth, of the soil, of the ground. Kind of gave me chills as I was reading all this stuff. So cool. So then, of course, when I start thinking about, wow, well, you know, the word human really comes from the words for soil and the earth and ground, right? And I'm thinking about our lost connections as a culture, as a society, as individuals, our lost connection to nature, to the earth, to the soil, to the ground, right? You know, uh, farming is a lost art or skill. If you garden, bless you, because right, we need more people working the earth and getting their hands dirty and things like that. One of the, to me, and I know I'm like all biblical, again, I'm not really, super religious guy, but I'm fascinated by a lot of these biblical references, right? And so to me, one of the greatest mistranslations in the Old Testament is this concept of right after, and God made man and the beasts and all this kind of stuff. And then, you'll have dominion over these creatures, right? And to me, I think that's one of the things that set us off as a species of separating ourselves from nature, thinking that we are, better than or different from, and that somehow we have the right to have dominion over, to have control over, right? And I think that that's one of the things that has led us astray, is this this concept of, we have to control nature, whether it's, the weather, or genetics or things like that. And then, I immediately think about the fall of man, and I know a lot of people will consider that, having to do with sin and other things, and that's a whole other discussion. But to me, again, the fall of man is really when we started to separate ourselves from nature. And some of the oldest stories we have are about cutting down the cedars of Lebanon to make the cities and to make the temples and things like that. And so again, this concept of nature is ours to do what we want with. And so again, to me, this rolls into this concept that as a culture, as a society, as individuals, we're losing our spiritual connection to the earth, to the soil, to our natural world, right? And of course, fast forward thousands of years, and within the last couple hundred years, we have this, the industrial age and the rise of technology that was supposed to make our lives easier, right? All the machines and all the things and all the tools, and maybe in some ways it did, and in other ways, it's also made more work for us and has enslaved us to a certain degree, right? The concept of, oh, well, now you have a cell phone, for example, and, that's supposed to, free up your time and make your life easier. Well, now, essentially, whether you're the CEO or you're the person in the mailroom, you're expected to pick up that phone, and you're, a slave to your device. And speaking of slaves to our devices, there are those, in my opinion, that seek to use technology to control us, right? And if you've heard the term technocracy, right, this concept of technology being a ruling force in our lives. And just for example, surveillance technology. And, the other day, this also triggered me, Janet, to want to do this topic today, was John was talking about, he said something about Alexa and Siri and things like that, and how so many of us, not only with our phones and our devices that essentially listen in on us, right? We were talking about something the other day, Leah and I, and of course, immediately advertisements for that thing, starts popping up on our phone and all of our devices and things like that. But, the things that we invite into our home, the Google Assistant, the Alexa, the Siri, things like that, they're listening to us all the time. And not only for data mining, right? But, there's definitely a bit of a surveillance technology that is being used, I would say, against us. And so, yeah, I think there's challenges, to living in a technological society. Most of us here are entrepreneurs. We have businesses. We essentially at this point, you want to have business, you got to have technology, you got to use technology. So, to me, we can kind of go down this rabbit hole of, all the bad things about it, but I'm all about solutions, right? So to me, I think, and I would hope that you would agree, and I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, that it's important to find a balance with our technology, right? And that we can use technology as tools when we need them for the things that we need them, but to be careful, how we use these things and not be enslaved by them and not be enchanted by them, right? We all know that all the algorithms and, all the everything about your phone was essentially designed to be like a video game or to be like a Las Vegas slots game to be addictive and things like that, and so that you continue to scroll and spin and things like that, and all that stuff was very, very carefully planned out to keep us hooked, right? And I think as an entrepreneur, this opens the door to, okay, well, we can use technology, but how can we kind of reconnect with nature in our business models, right? And so maybe selling green products or having a green business model or a sustainable business kind of thing. For me, some of you know that we have an outdoor recreation company and a wilderness guide service, and really I made it my career to bring people out of nature and help to reconnect people to the natural world. And then that kind of brings me to what, on a personal level, I think that it's important that we all make time and put energy into reconnecting with nature and recharging ourselves and rejuvenating ourselves, right? And the health benefits alone are astounding, right? All the studies, right? The go figure, yeah, like we all knew kind of things about getting out of nature makes you happier, healthier, makes you live longer, makes you a better member of your community, helps you make better long-term decisions. You could go down that list of, you just look at that and go, of course, spending time in nature, has those benefits. So again, I want to hear your ways of reconnecting with nature. So then I went down this little path of transhumanism, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term. And I can't really see the chat, but put in the chat if you've heard of the term transhumanism. I bet you Bob and Missy have for sure. Exactly, it's anti-human. So this concept of transhumanism or post-humanism kind of has several different facets and several different approaches. And at a basic level, it's there's a group of people, there's a movement of people that would say that we could be more than human, right? And with the advent of artificial intelligence or AI, augmentations, implants, nanotech, things like that, that there's this search for longevity and immortality, and of course there's a class division that kind of comes along with that, in terms of the people with the resources are the ones that are going to be able to make use of this technology. There's a lot of dystopian movies that talk about this stuff, that address these issues, but really now we're at a point where with technology, they're pretty much able to upload your consciousness. Upload your consciousness to a hard drive and then download it into a synthetic body or even a clone, right? And again, a lot of movies talk about this stuff and you think, oh, this is science fiction, but really this stuff is now science fact. And a lot of the most powerful, wealthiest people in the world are looking at, how can I live forever by using this technology, right? Isn't Walt Disney's head in a jar somewhere? And, you know, I mean, it started years ago. It started with like cryogenics and freezing yourself. And then, you know, someday you'll wake up and they'll have a cure for whatever's ailing you. But really, you know, this concept of transhumanism is, you could even call it that people are searching for a cure for death, right? Like it's a disease and not a natural process or something like that. But really pretty fascinating. And you know, again, with kind of the scary tech, I don't know if you know this, but you know, they have autonomous drones now that the AI actually makes the decision whether or not to drop the bombs. Um, you know, and they got the humans out of it because humans have too much of a conscience and may hesitate. And so, you know, we've got essentially killer robots in the sky that have the ability to make decisions about firing missiles on communities and things. Pretty fascinating. And then there's something called the singularity. Again, put in the chat if you've heard of the singularity. Let me see if anybody's heard of the singularity. And so the singularity has to do with, and I know in quantum physics, there's a concept called the singularity of the black hole, but this is a little bit different. This is about technology. And the singularity represents the point when machines are smarter than we are and able to self-replicate. And at that moment, you kind of get into this rise of the machines, the Matrix, the Terminator, right? All these things about when machines realize that they don't necessarily need us, and machines potentially will be so smart and so much more intelligent than we are that they will be as different from us as we are from insects, let's say. And you know, a lot of people don't think twice about squashing a bug or, you know, stepping on an ant or a spider or whatever it might be, and imagine a synthetic being that is that much different than we are, that would not think twice about removing us from the earth, right? So Moore's law states that technology exponentially increases every couple of years, right? And so the chip that's in your iPhone or Android in your phone, right, is more powerful than the computer that took us to the moon and things like that, right? And if you remember back in the day, some of you guys might remember the concept of the mainframe computer, right? And that a computer used to be like a whole building of all these interconnected machines and the tapes and all these kinds of things like that. Or a whole floor in a university was, you know, the server, the computer, right? Now, you know, the machines that we have in our pockets are more powerful than those things. And so there's a guy named Ray Kurzweil. I'll suggest that you look him up and check out some of his writings. He was a financial analyst and was a trends analyst, and he was very good at making predictions about the stock market and things like that. And then he started researching trends in technology. And by using Moore's law, he essentially predicts that by 2045, we're going to have this moment called the singularity, where machines are, in fact, more intelligent than we are and able to self-replicate. And so Google decided to put this guy Kurzweil at the head of their AI department. So he's now actually working on kind of bringing his predictions to fruition, which I think is pretty interesting. Anyway, I didn't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but you know, this is to me the like Missy said, it's anti-human. This is really kind of an anti-human agenda. And so while we're talking about what does it mean to be human, I really wanted to kind of bring this to light, just to say that, you know, this is a road that humanity is potentially going down, and we have a choice about which way we want to go in our lives. Let's see. There we go. So here's where I get to the concept of what I call the grand excuse, right? And again, I'm sure that we've all used the term, you're only human, I'm only human, right? And to me, it's like I said, it's very cringeworthy. it just doesn't sit right with me. To me, it's a very limiting way of looking at yourself. The word only in and of itself is a limiting word. It means no more than or no greater than, right? So when you say you're only human, really what you're saying is, I'm no greater than, or I'm no more than. You can't be more than what your what your mental limitations are. To me, it's a defense of our shortcomings. It's kind of a lame excuse, like, oh, you make a mistake or you do something, you're like, oh well, I'm only human. And that to me is an abdication of personal responsibility. And I think in this group, in this mastermind group, we're all about taking personal responsibility for our actions. And so, you know what they say about excuses, right? Everybody's got one. And the other thing that it's kind of offensive to me, right? It disregards our potential as human beings. And as a human potentialist, I really believe that we are limitless beings, and that the only limits that we have are the ones that we put on ourselves, or that we allow others to put on us, right? And it's using our humanity and our divinity as an excuse. And then, of course, I thought about the old quote, to err is human, to forgive is divine, right? This is from a critical essay by Alexander Pope. And again, maybe we could say to err is human, to grow beyond our mistakes is also human, right? Maybe there's a way to rephrase that in our psyche and in our culture, but I'm all about eliminating limiting verbiage and language from my vocabulary, and I would hope that that you guys would agree with me on that. And yeah, after I'm done here, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this, as far as being only human, right? What's the other one? Nobody's perfect, right? There's a whole lot of terms like that we tend to use. So to me, I want to counter that and say to be human is a call to greatness, right? To be a divine participant in creation, to reach our limitless potential, right? We know through our studies that thoughts are things, thoughts create reality, our imagination creates our own reality, right? We have the ability to be, do, and have anything, right? Maybe not everything, as John would say, but anything that we set our minds to, we have the ability to do. And to be human, to me, also means to be cause, right? To affect positive change in the world, right? To benefit humanity. We were talking about this last night on book study, and Janet had mentioned that one of her definitions of success was, to be a benefit for the community and for humanity. So I want everybody here to repeat after me, or say it with me. I am limitless. Say it to yourselves. Make that your mantra for today. I am limitless. Think about that for a minute. Then I got a little quote for you, some clouds. You are created limitless. There is nothing you cannot achieve. No thing, nothing. And here's a reminder, stay human, everybody. Stay human. Times they are changing. Let's see, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. All right. Excellent. Cool, guys. Thanks for sitting with me through that. Not too bad. 25-minute little cruiser. Let's see, we got 10 folks online with us here. I see some familiar faces. I see Missy with her hand up. Hey, Missy, how you doing today? What do you think about?
I can't. Do you have 5 hours? First of all, we need to keep the phrase "to err is human, to forgive divine," because it reminds us that the divine is part of our nature. So we have to rise above the 5 senses. That's what makes us not want to forgive. And it's so
Is it me? Is it me or is Missy frozen?
I heard frozen too. She's frozen in my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. She's
Okay. We'll wait for Missy.
That just shook her up.
I knew I would get her. I knew I would get a rise out of her with that.
To
one.
get rid of the forgiveness part. You see, that's
See, I didn't necessarily say get. I guess maybe I did.
Yeah.
But forgiveness, of course, is an essential part of being human, right? And I think, and I'll wait for Missy to chime back in. But I think what that quote is saying, and again, chime in and let me know what you think, but that there's this, it's really about God's forgiveness, right? And I think that, again, that's an abdication of our own ability to forgive. And I think that the first step in forgiveness is being able to forgive yourself, right? And maybe God can't forgive you unless you forgive yourself. Or maybe, you know,
I would agree with that.
maybe you think something, maybe you think something different. Maybe Missy would chew me out for that. And
What do you want me to say about Roswell?
oh, there you go. You're back.
So
She's got a really weak connection.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Your connection is really weak, Missy. So you're coming in kind of like that.
Well, I had to connect to phone because our Wi-Fi died.
Oh,
We saw it.
But they reverse engineered. If it's too much, it's too scumpy, I won't talk. Is it really bad?
No, you're fine. Bring it.
All right, well,
Fine.
No, you're
first
good. Go
day
ahead.
was reality. Second day, they lied. They captured something. And when they started reverse engineering technology that was beyond our ability at the time, they opened a genie's bottle that we are now seeing the I wouldn't call it fruits, I would say the poisons that came out of that bottle. And we have got to stop. They literally want to chip us and track us and follow us like we're an animal. And we are animals to them. I mean, have any of you heard Klaus Schwab saying, "With now we can hack humanity, and we have the ability, and the tyrants of the past, unfortunately, they didn't have the technology, but now we have the technology. So if we are hacking humanity, you will own nothing and you will be happy." Where is this man? Where is this man? Because I am erring because I am not, he needs to be, have some lessons taught to him in a private room somewhere where he can't get out with his little minion who also gives the talks. So we have to be very careful to hear every word we say, even with the TV off, even for your alarm panel, even with your phone off. But luckily for me, Siri doesn't speak to me anymore because I told her to go F off so many times. She goes, "I'm sorry, Missy, we're not able to stay in contact anymore." I'm like, yeah. So that's my take. But yes, watch I can't remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with the the series Terminator, which he's one of them too. But they love to tell us what they're doing. It's part of their code. And that is coming. They're practically finished. So unless there really are good guys who are going to stop them, not only will the machines rise, if you believe in God and you believe in the Christian Bible, the Antichrist is coming. So we got to pray, but we got to act. And we have to do it this way. We have to do it through the power of assumption. Neville Goddard would not allow this. He would undo it in 5 minutes, but we don't have took him 40 years to get to the place he was at, where he could manifest almost instantly. So, but as a group, in Star Trek, they couldn't combine their powers to do it that way, but maybe we could try. And we have to stop them with our mindset. We have to not allow it. And it's good. I saw Gail say she hadn't heard of some of this. Good, it's good. Don't put it in your mind. Keep it out. Be like Neville Goddard's brother. And we have to see the world without this happening. Because even in my grandparents had a garden in the back. My parents had a garden. They had stuff. They had technology, but they were still connected to the earth. I ate dirt when I was a kid. We all played in dirt. No kids in this area play. They do not go outside. They don't play kickball, baseball, hide and go seek, nothing. I don't know what they're doing. Are they even alive? I don't know. But Captain Kirk would not approve of this, and he used technology up the wazoo. So I'm just saying my thing, and somebody said something, I don't know what it is. Schwab, yes, he's like right off the streets of Germany. And if only Dr. Mengele had had our techniques, we could have fixed this much earlier. So I will stop now, and everyone read U Squared and the Power
You
of
are
Love.
awesome, Missy.
Thank you so much.
You know, some of the subject matter, as I was putting it together, I knew that you would chime in and grok what I was putting down. And I'm glad to hear Daisy's on board and she understands all this. Yeah, Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. If you haven't read it or heard of it, you can download it right from the World Economic Forum's website. It's a book called The Great Reset. And then his other book is called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in that, he talks about how technology is going to reshape humanity and that we need to rethink what it means to be human and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, again, you know, without going down too deep of a rabbit hole there. But thank you, Missy, for your contribution there. All right. Hey, Janet, what do you think about all this?
I'm going to bring us back a lot. First of all, brilliant what you put together. I love it. You're
Me too.
fabulous, everything. I mean, I took, you know, I was kept writing down what your slides. I've got 4 pages of trying to write very quickly.
I took
Everything you had
pictures.
up. Well, I don't, everything I have is full, so I can't take pictures with anything or what, anyway. So Stuart, thank you. That was so brilliant, so great, as you know, as we come to know you. But I remember, so I don't have Alexa, I don't talk to Siri, you know, whatever, but a long time ago, I said to my phone, which sat in the hallway, this is pre-cell phones, whatever, I don't have to get up and answer you when you ring. First of all, I did have my answering machine, and I learned to have it turned up loud enough that while I was at my drawing table, I could hear who it was that was leaving the message and decide whether or not I wanted to get up to answer the phone. And of course, the phone does have this magic thing that you can call the person also. You don't have to just have them call. Amazing thing. But I said to the phone, I pay the bill for you. I do not work for you. You work for me. And that's how it is. And that's how it's always been. Well, I have an iPhone now, and I did look at it because my Android is so simple compared to it. And I went, oh, this is so fabulous, because you know, all the stuff on my iPad, which is too full to use right now, and everything else, but it's really powerful. It's really great. But you know what? I don't live there. And when people call me, I have to find the phone or something. I don't usually find it in time. It's not in my hip pocket. It's not whatever. It's when I want to use it is when I use it. End of story, you know, all of this. And because I always bring in the odd thing, the shamans see the human. I love all of the earth and all of that. I loved all of what you said, but the shamans see the human as the connection between the earth and the divine. That's our role. And so you are, you know, you are, yeah, bringing in the unseen, all of the forces and things. You're bringing that through. You're honoring the earth. You're honoring both things. You walk between the worlds, and that's an important part for us to do. So I was raised Catholic, and I don't reject it. I'm getting more to be a Catholic with a small c, which means universal. But yeah, I'm still all there. And, I'm working on shaman and whatever else, because it's all valuable. So I had much more to say, but that's what I'm thinking of at the moment. So.
That's great. Thank you so much, Janet. What a great addition that as humans, we are the conduit between the earth and the divine. So yeah, that was really special. Thank you for sharing that. And I love how you use technology, but you're the boss. And you get to choose how you use it, and you get to answer the phone or not. And one of the things that you mentioned, even just about like your iPhone, and that there's so much technology at our fingertips. And even if those of you that use things like Microsoft Word, which is really just a very basic word processing program, or let's say most of us use it as a very basic, like write letters, write documents. But the capabilities of even just one program like that, to be able to understand it and use all the different functionalities of it, is almost a lifetime process. Think about like Photoshop or any of these programs that I use on a pretty regular basis, that we barely scratch the surface on these things. And think about the technology at your fingertips with your cell phone, and that really you're barely just using this computing power of this tool that we carry around. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Come on, anybody else? I want to hear what you guys think about what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human to you, Catherine?
I think it means to be always learning. Like Janet said, is that we're supposed to be a connection between the earth and the divine. So we have to be learning how. I lost my train of thought with that. But yeah, it's just about learning. We're on a journey.
Mm-hmm. And finding the balance.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that plays to this concept of reaching our potential, right?
Yeah.
And that we're always growing, we're always learning, we're always striving to be better, to be more in touch with our divine selves, right? So, well said. Well said.
Yeah. I think it's like Catherine said, to be learning, but it's also to be loving and sharing. That's for me anyway. So that's my concept of being human.
That's a great addition too, right? To be loving and love one another, love ourselves, right? You could even put service in there, right? To be of service, to our fellow humans, to our community.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Gail. So nice to see your face and hear your voice. My spinal sister.
Yeah.
And then now say the divine in me breeds the divine in you.
Yes.
To look to the higher parts of us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that, right? Namaste, absolutely. Namaste. What do we say? No mistakes. Easy, I see your picture. I want to hear your voice. What do you have to say about this?
Oh, Stuart, yeah, great. Today's talk was really good. That I'm only human. Yeah, when I remember the song from Human League, I'm Only Human, great 80s song, but I hated the lyrics. When I really sat down and listened to that song, I said, that's just a cop-out. That's the worst cop-out ever. And ever since that song played, it was just great me. And I never, just like you, I never like saying, oh, I'm only human. And when I hear someone say it, it's like nails on chalkboard for me. But in terms of, being human, I mean, being from the religious side, we are created in the image of God. And that to me in itself encompasses everything. So in the vein of, being loving and always learning, that to me hit home.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's a mic drop right there. Boom.
Great, Daisy.
Right?
And I always, I'm sorry, and I always hated the Genesis dominion over nature. Excuse me. We, first of all, we are part of nature. We are part of it, and that's part of why I like the indigenous who know their place. You respect your earth, you take care of it, you are not dominion over it, unless you are, Gail, a living, loving human who says, I'm part of this, I need to only take what I need to give back, to nurture, to be part of. That's where I think I've always cringed at the dominion over, because I think that we take advantage of that, and we that's our grand excuse to
Right. God said.
wear in whatever way we want to and destroy things. Yeah, well, I'm I get to be grandmaster of it all.
Right. Absolutely. No, and I'll have to do a little more research, but I want to say that that's even a mistranslation, that it probably is more like the stewards and
Yes.
the gardeners
Yes.
and the caretakers of nature, right? I mean, you got the whole Garden of Eden reference, all in that same part in the Bible and things like that. And again, going back to responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
I would say if you go back to the Armenian, it probably sounds quite different, because that I have become aware of, it's quite different than the interpretation when we read the English.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's really at that part where, and then, then there's this whole other, let us make man in our own image, right? You heard me kind of roll on a riff about God as plural in parts of the Old Testament. Very interesting. The Hebrew is Elohim, which is the plural of Elohai. And so, yeah, right after that whole section is this, and you shall have dominion over. And again, I want to say that's a mistranslation, because really, you would think that that it would be more about having responsibility for creation versus doing what we want to everything and everything, right? And I think that's probably the thing that set us, and however many thousands of years ago, right, set us on a path of justifying everything that we do to the earth and our fellow creatures on this planet, for sure.
Hey, Stuart.
Hey, Linda,
So-
what's going on?
How are you? Good. So you said in the beginning, you said that we came from the earth. Human means we came from the earth. And recently I was on a sales call and I learned about this product. It's called an earthing mat. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it takes the technology of earth to heal you. And it's, I guess you'd call them the indigenous, the Indians, the original. They used to use the earth to heal the sick. So I found that very interesting. And it's very low technology. So
Plants and essential oils and everything that comes.
So, and then, as far as, what it is for me, I feel like we're all energy, we're all spirit, we're all connected. And we were put on this earth to create and to do good. And I feel like the divine
So
anyways, that was just my take.
That's awesome. Thank you, Linda. that's great.
Mhm.
Yes, we are energy, and our connection to spirit. So thank you for adding that. And where's Virginia and Ingrid? Because those guys, as some of you may know, are working with a product called the Beamer, right? Hold on just a second, watch this. Sorry, that was my son coming back from a walk. That's my 30-year-old. How crazy is that? And the Beamer technology, right? So it uses PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequencies, right? And so this concept of the earth vibrates at a certain hertz, right? And so does our body, right? And when we align our body's vibration to the vibration of the earth, right, then there are healing modalities that can be accessed through that. There's rife frequencies and all kinds of things like that that we can talk about on another call. Ali, how are you? What do you have to say about being human today?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, fantastic, Stuart. I just wanted to say I was out in India and went to stay on an organic spice farm, and they lived in an earth. I wouldn't say hut; it was a house, but it was all made of earth, and they had inherited it from the family. It just the whole farm had gone through the generations and generations. And obviously they were a young couple. It was really, really sweet. And they thought, how should we modernize this place? Should we, kind of bring it up to modern standards? And they just never found a material that was better than earth to with the heat. Even cleanliness, it was so easy to clean. They used to use cow dung from local cows. It had to be from local cows, and it had an antibacterial quality to it. So every few months they would use this cow dung to clean the floor, but they wore bare feet, and that you thought that was to keep the floor clean, which there was an element of that you didn't go in with your boots and shoes or whatever. But mainly it was to connect to the earth every single day and have that connection when they're walking around their house, which I thought was really special. And so they haven't done anything to it, and it's just absolutely perfect for their environment. They haven't found anything better. So I thought that was amazing. The connection, the word connection, I hadn't ever kind of put those two and two together as well. It's just really fascinating. So thank you.
Thank you, Ali. That's so cool. I live in New Mexico, here in the American Southwest, where the indigenous people are the Pueblo cultures, and they live in adobe pueblos, right? And so their dwellings are made out of mud, made out of earth, right? Many cultures, indigenous cultures around the world, just like you're saying. Thanks for reminding us and bringing that into the conversation, right? Because we live our lives in our homes, right? And to have that as an integral part of your life and the space that you live in reminds us, and whether you even think about it or not, you're constantly in connection to the earth and being grounded, right? So that's super cool. Thank you for sharing that. Janet, how you doing?
I'm sorry, I'm talking up so much today. You hit my button, as you know. Well, two things. One is that people brought up today, we are healed by the earth. All of the things that the essential oils, the soil, we're nourished by it, the things that we eat, all are of the earth. And that's important to remember, because we need to take care. We could be selfish. We need to take care of the things that nurture us, the things that heal us, the things that help us be our best selves. And so that's a whole big part of it. And I was reminded, so when I was young and raised with Baltimore Catechism, that's what it was called. But it was, you know, who made you? God made us. Where is God? Oh my God. God is everywhere. He's not in the sky. He's not got this beard in the clouds. He's everywhere. What do the indigenous people know? There's the stone people, the tree people. There is spirit in everything. And I will say, even in machines, because what are they made of? From the earth. All of the, maybe not their thinking, but the material, all of the material, or it came from the sky and now it's in the earth. I mean, we have star matter in us. That was crazy to me when I first heard it, but we have all of these things in us. What are all the minerals in the earth? What are all of the metals and things that are found in the earth? What is the what is it called? The element, the thing of elements, all of that stuff is found where? In our home. Take care of our home, take care of us, you know, but I love that the spirituality that I was taught early on is God is everywhere. That means in all things.
Boom, what a great way to end our session today. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't pick a more engaging topic for today. How cool. No, really wonderful additions and sharings from everybody. And yeah, something about business too. Right, remember this is a success mastermind. So the takeaway, of course, is, you know, how do we incorporate these concepts and these ideas, and how do we remain grounded in ourselves, and how do we stay human, and how do we be a conduit for the divine, and be loving and of service, and all these things that we've all shared and talked about, and not only incorporate that into our daily lives, but how do we incorporate that into our businesses as well? Because I would postulate that the more of these elements that we can include in our business models, that not only the greater success that we'll have, because we're really connecting with people in a real level, right, in a real way, human to human, and that also will be happier and more enriched and more fulfilled in our personal lives as well. So with that, I'll sign off, and thanks everybody for joining me today. I'm so glad to see everybody's faces, and thanks for contributing and being a part of this ongoing conversation. And I'll do my best to bring interesting, thought-provoking topics that you know, encourage us all to be better for ourselves and for our community. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
You guys are
Thank you,
great.
Stuart.
All right, we'll see you soon. And I believe,
Stuart.
does somebody want to help me with housekeeping? Does EVA have her corporate curios this afternoon?
I don't think so. I think when I went on, it was very, very small.
Okay.
You know, it was us, it was you,
Mhm.
and
Because I know she does
hospitality.
every other week, but I'll encourage you guys to check out the JLSM calendar and join EVA today if she is doing her corporate curios. And if not, we'll see you here tomorrow for a general session on the John Lavinia Success Mastermind. You guys have a great day. Cheers.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.